Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of the highest quality woven guitar, bag, and camera straps you'll ever see. Native Sons straps are handmade one at a time in the USA with unparalleled love and care. Click the link in the description to check out their new expanded lineup featuring all new 3-inch guitar straps. And remember, when you support my sponsor, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it.
Hey y'all, it's a shit post weekend on Channel 2.
You don't want no part of this shit.
I wanted to skip forward actually now and open a package that I received the other day. This is from Brian Odom. I had done a Guitar of the Week video on this Danelectro bass, and the pickup needed a new cover on the pickup because it had actually split in half. And I made some video of the split. I actually used my microscope here on the desk to get really right down close on it so I could get a good look at, you know, what the area of the split actually looks like. Hey, how's it going, guys? Brad the Guitologist here. Just did a video about a Danelectro bass guitar that I replaced the lipstick pickup cover on because it had been split. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on this camera or not, but there's a split right down the middle of this pickup cover. I got an email from a guy who said that he might be able to fix this, so I'm going to mail this to him. He said he's a jeweler and that he may be able to use a jeweler's laser weld to weld this thing back together, this split. So I'm just out of curiosity to see if he can do it. I don't really have high expectations, but if he can do it, that'd be pretty awesome. I'm going to send this off to him and see if he can get it done. But first, I want to look at it here on the microscope because I'm curious about what the split is going to look like close up. All right, let's take a look at this thing. I did note in the video that I made on the Danelectro bass that we had some crud on here, and I believe this is, I don't know. Looks like maybe it was taped up at some time. Either somebody had some tape that left some residue, or they tried to glue it. But I'm real curious about the boundary right there. Let's see if I can focus in a little closer on that. Right there where it's broken. Keep hitting this stupid wire. It's hard to stabilize this thing when it's on this big boom like this, but it does make it nice for getting up close to things. You can see there's a lot of that residue, right? I don't know if that's gonna affect the weld or not, but there's definitely a lot of that residue. Let me turn this thing around. But anyway, you get the idea. There's the split, and like I said, we got this fellow who's gonna try to fix this, and whenever we get it back, we will see how successful he is, and we'll put publish the results in a video.
Okay, Brad, I'm finally getting to your pickup cover. Kind of a janky camera setup, but it's all I got, so embrace the jank, and we're gonna go with it. So this thing's got I guess that's some lacquer or whatever from the pickup linings on it. I'll clean that off. It's just methanol, rubbing alcohol work, trying to, whatever you got, lacquer thinner, etc. And what I kind of suspected, although I've never actually worked on one of these on a Danelectro at all before, I figured that this was plated brass, which I think that's gonna prove to be the case. You can see where it kind of got rubbed through at some point there. I don't know if that's probably strings or body wear or something, but I'm gonna get the inside of this damn thing clean if I can reach in there. But it being brass, chances are it's going to take solder pretty well. So that's going to be plan A. There's a little piece of that lacquer, schmoo, whatever the hell that is. You can probably see the slightest little gold tint down inside that pickup cover. I'm trying to keep the glare off of it, but that's brass. And I'm gonna run some emery cloth in there and try to get our working surface down to brass also. I'm not gonna do it on the outside. I'm gonna try and conserve that original finish. But the first thing I want to do is get it tinned up on the inside. Yeah, it's coming off. It's probably 600 grit, I guess. I could go with something a little more aggressive, except I don't have anything handy, I don't think. That'll be fine. Okay, that's coming along all right, I guess. Put some backing on it. Yeah, I think that's going to do. What I'm going to do is flux that and try to get it warmish to where it'll take a little solder. Okay, crack facing down, so I got gravity working for me. And let's see if we can get some solder to stick to it. Okay, solder looks like it's sticking pretty well. I'm going to let that cool down for a second and kind of refixture it so I can get down in the back. Or I'll just skewer it. I've never actually shot a video like this before. I see what you mean working around the camera. That's a pain in the ass. Oh man, I'm gonna need a bigger iron for this. If I'm gonna get this done in a reasonable amount of time, I'll have to put the gun on it. Okay. I'm having hell with my little clamp here because it keeps wanting to walk away from me. It's not heavy enough to really hold. Let's see if I can back it up somehow. Keep it in frame. Well, see if I can knock some of those bumps down and just get a smooth coating of solder in there. I don't want it to be sticking out because it's going to go on a jig. You were talking about having a hard time clamping these things, so I went and dug in the garage and I found this old piece of scrap wood as a handle off of something or another, I'm sure. And I put it on the belt sander until I got it to just a little below 5/8. That's what the idea of this thing is. Best I can tell. Okay, so we got that tinned on the inside. Now, that's brass shim stock. And what I'm going to try and do is tin that also, and then set this thing up on the mandrel with the pieces together, clamp it down, and heat it up and see if that solder all sticks together and looks half decent. Okay, see if that's cooled down any. Yeah, pretty much. Got a little flux on there, but I don't think that's anything to sweat. Cut it off about yonder. And not unlike that. Okay. Now that side kind of polished up a little bit. A little flux on her. And see how well it tins. Oh yeah, that's tinning just fine. I guess I better get you a little closer, huh? That shim stock's pretty thin. It's like 8 thousandths, I think. So it doesn't take long to heat up at all. Okay, got my little thin tinned layer on there. I'm going to trim that up a little more, and that way I can get the edges. I don't want any unsoldered edges, because when you go to try and stick that coil back in there, I don't want anything hanging loose that you're going to hang up on. So I'll trim that down a little bit. Okay, and that's going to go right under the crack. Now, here's my old Vienna sausage file handle mandrel that I built out of this little piece of wood. Kind of tried to match the contour on the end so I can get support up under here all the way to the end. And I'm going to slide that in there, not unlike that. And then I'm going to use some of these old scraps. That's fiberglass blanket, welding blanket. And all that's really there for is to isolate the workpiece from the steel hose clamp that's going to go on it, because I don't want it sucking the heat out of it. I think what I want to do is go about midways and get a good tack on it. My damn kingdom for a nut driver. Okay. See if that's gonna pull that. What I'm trying to do is pull that gap together, and that way the piece underneath isn't really functioning as a cosmetic element. It's more just support. Okay. Okay, I think as long as I've got a probe there holding that, when I put the iron on it, that it'll. Okay, Brad, I dicked the video up somehow, so there's a chunk missing, but you saw what I was doing at the end of that last one. I was fixturing it up and squeezing that all together with that little piece of shim stock underneath there. So at this point, what I'm trying to do is really just kind of smooth the surface out and make it look half-ass pretty. Probably better that way. So yeah, I just tacked this end with that hose clamp on there, holding everything together. And once I got that tack on there, I took the hose clamp off and filled the rest of that joint in. Now I'm just trying to doctor it up, make it look pretty. Kinda, anyway. Okay, let's see if I can wipe the rest of that crap off of there. I tried scrubbing on the top of it with some fine emery cloth, so I got some scratches there. I'll put some polishing compound on that and kind of buff that back out. And then at the bottom, it's cracked here and the crack's starting there. I don't know, it might have been that way when you sent it. It might have got mashed a little bit in the mail. But I'll put some flux on there and give those a little tack on the inside, and maybe that'll keep them from splitting. But I'll polish that up and send it back to you.
Looks like you may have managed to get it back together. It's definitely back together. It's not perfect, but as you can see right there, he did manage to solder that. So, you know, this is something that could be used again in the guitar, possibly. So very cool. Thank you, Brian, for that. I appreciate that. I will set that aside. Maybe even keep it with that bass and make sure it stays with it in case, you know, the future owner wants the original one. But yeah, you know, I'm fairly sure I can't be the first person or the last person to experience a split like that on a Danelectro pickup. So, you know, if someone else has experienced this sort of thing, it can be repaired, apparently. I'm not sure how durable the repair is going to be, but it, you know, it looks like Brian has managed to pull it off. So he is, if nothing else, he's added to the knowledge base for Danelectros. So thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate that. Thank you. For now, we'll see y'all later.